Bij de start van dit parlementaire jaar geldt, nog meer dan anders, dat de polstok van het regeringsbeleid niet verder reikt dan u toestaat. Het werk van het kabinet rust na de recente politieke ontwikkelingen immers op een zeldzaam smalle basis in beide kamers van de Staten-Generaal. Het kabinet beseft terdege dat in de komende periode nauw overleg met u nodig zal zijn om voldoende steun te verwerven en nog resultaten te kunnen boeken. Tegelijkertijd kennen de dagelijkse zorgen van de mensen over werk, wijk en woning geen pauzeknop. Mensen willen een inkomen waarmee ze het einde van de maand halen. Een veilige en vertrouwde woonomgeving en een huis voor zichzelf en hun kinderen. Voor jongeren is een eigen woonruimte een cruciale stap op weg naar zelfstandigheid. Iedereen wil ook, heel concreet en dichtbij, kunnen rekenen op goede en toegankelijke zorg, op een sociaal vangnet als het leven even tegenzit en op onderwijs dat kinderen allereerst de basisvaardigheden leert. Dat zijn onderwerpen die mensen primair bezighouden. Daarnaast leven we in een tijd van grote internationale veranderingen. Dat bleek eens te meer eind juni, toen de ogen van de hele wereld gericht waren op Den Haag. De succesvolle NAVO-top werd vrijwel meteen historisch genoemd. En inderdaad, het besluit om de defensieuitgaven fors op te schroeven markeert de ingrijpende en razendsnelle geopolitieke ontwikkelingen die zich voor onze ogen voltrekken. 80 jaar na de bevrijding van ons land zijn vraagstukken van vrede en veiligheid opnieuw urgent. En ook op andere terreinen komen er grote thema's op ons af. Hoe benutten we de kansen die de snelle opkomst van kunstmatige intelligentie ons biedt? En hoe beperken we tegelijkertijd de risico's? Hoe om te gaan met toenemende digitale dreigingen? En hoe houden we de economie sterk en concurrerend in een wereld van handelstarieven en nieuwe economische machtsverhoudingen? Het zijn grote vragen waar geen snelle en gemakkelijke antwoorden op te geven zijn, maar waar regering en Staten-Generaal zich wel rekenschap van moeten geven. Daarom is het goed als we ons, bij alle onzekerheden die er zijn, steeds realiseren dat het leven alleen achterwaarts kan worden begrepen, maar voorwaarts moet worden geleefd, zoals de bekende uitspraak luidt. Dat betekent dat politiek en samenleving in het hier en nu toekomstgericht moeten blijven denken en handelen, ook nu ons land voor nieuwe verkiezingen staat. Tegen die achtergrond heeft het kabinet de intentie zoveel als mogelijk verder te bouwen op hetgeen in het achter ons liggende jaar in gang is gezet. En na de val van het kabinet is voor weinig onderwerpen van het regeringsbeleid besloten tot een pas op de plaats. Hopelijk biedt dat een basis om gezamenlijk stappen vooruit te blijven zetten. Regering en Staten-Generaal hebben hierin een verschillende rol, maar een gedeelde verantwoordelijkheid ten opzichte van de samenleving. Helaas lijken in Nederland mensen steeds vaker tegenover elkaar te staan. Op straat, online, op universiteiten en, niet in de laatste plaats, ook in Den Haag. Met uitgesproken opvattingen, voor of tegen, zwart of wit. Alsof het gelijk van de een automatisch het ongelijk inhoudt van de ander. Terwijl de maatschappelijke werkelijkheid bijna altijd oneindig veel complexer is dan dat. Het kabinet is ervan doordrongen dat dit ook van zijn kant vraagt om een open, luisterende houding en tot compromisbereidheid. Debat en verschil van inzicht horen bij een levende democratie. Maar wat er ook bij hoort, is de bereidheid elkaar over die verschillen heen op een volwassen manier de hand te reiken. Het spreekt vanzelf dat het kabinet die opdracht om te beginnen op zichzelf betrekt, met als doel tot oplossingen te komen voor problemen en zorgen die breed in de samenleving leven. Samen met u en samen met de gemeenten, provincies en waterschappen. Met die intentie zal het kabinet zich allereerst voluit in blijven zetten om de parlementaire behandeling van de nieuwe migratiewetgeving af te ronden. Grip krijgen op migratie is een van de grootste zorgen die leven in het land. En het onderwerp blijft, hoe dan ook, urgent. Natuurlijk staat buiten kijf dat de grote lopende hersteloperaties, die al zo pijnlijk lang duren, met de grootst mogelijke kracht worden doorgezet. Voor de Groningers, voor de toeslagenouders en voor iedereen die achteraf gezien een te lage WIA-uitkering kreeg. Voor de langere termijn ligt er een grote opdracht om regelgeving veel minder complex te maken, om herhaling te voorkomen. Op het gebied van veiligheid is veel in gang gezet om de samenleving weerbaarder te maken tegen dreigingen van buitenaf. Maar ook de veiligheid in de eigen omgeving vraagt een stevige aanpak. We kunnen niet accepteren dat meisjes en vrouwen zich op straat niet veilig voelen. Of mensen met een keppeltje op, of een hoofddoek om. Of dat twee mensen van hetzelfde geslacht niet hand in hand kunnen lopen.
I'm here before you today, not only as the elected leader of NAPB St. Martin, but as the voice of over 222 dedicated justice workers who serve the community of St. Martin with integrity, courage, and a deep commitment to public safety. Our members are on the front lines every day, upholding the law, protecting lives, and often placing their own safety at risk to preserve the peace and security we all value. NAPB St. Martin, along with ABVO St. Martin and WICSU PSU, are here today in response to the Justice Committee's queries concerning ongoing matters within the Justice Ministry that directly and indirectly affect the working conditions, rights, and morale of the justice personnel across the country, St. Martin. We welcome this dialogue and hope it leads to actionable outcomes that benefit both law enforcement and the broader justice system. We acknowledge the need for reform within the justice sector, and unions present today are not opposed to progress. However, we must emphasize that effective reform cannot occur without inclusive consultation. Too often, policies affecting frontline officers are developed in isolation without meaningful engagement with those tasked with their implementation. A recurring concern is the lack of adequate resources. Officers are expected to perform under increasing pressures with limited manpower, outdated equipment, and insufficient support services. These challenges not only hinder operational efficiency, but compromise officer safety and community trust. We call upon the Justice Committee to advocate for a few comprehensive review of the budget allocations to law enforcement agencies with a focus on enhancing frontline capacity, upgrading equipment and technology, expanding mental health and wellness programs for officers. It is no secret that the relationship between the ministry and justice workers has experienced strain in recent months. Political rhetoric, conflicting directives, and perceived lack of support have left many officers feeling undervalued. We believe in restoring trust in the ministry and law enforcement community. This starts with open communication, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. All unions present here today are ready to play a constructive role in rebuilding this relationship. Honorable members of Parliament, the safety of the community of St. Martin, the integrity of our justice system, and the well-being of our officers depend on our ability to work together. All unions collectively stand ready to engage in meaningful dialogue and contribute constructively to the elevation of our justice system. We respectfully ask that our voices be heard, our concerns addressed, and our role respected as essential partners in justice and public safety. Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I will answer the questions posed by MP La Cruz. The question goes as follows. What actually were your proposals and what proposals have been made? Madam Chair, through you, it wasn't entirely clear what the MP meant with this question. However, if we assume that the MP was referring to the Nagico insurance, as that was his follow-up question, through you, Madam Chair, we would like to inform the MP La Cruz that a committee was in place that included, among others, representatives from the unions, NAPB, WICSU, and ABVO, who were instrumental in putting this insurance together for the Justice Ministry. I now answer the follow-up question. Did you receive notification that the insurance was canceled? And if notice was received, why was it canceled? Madam Chair, to the Honorable MP La Cruz, neither the unions nor our members neither of our members of the Justice Ministry received notice that the insurance was cancelled. I move on to the following question. I now move on to the question by MP DeWeaver. Who is covered with the NAGICO insurance? Madam Chair, through you, we have noted that several members of Parliament posed the same question but just worded differently. And through you, Madam Chair, I would like to provide the following response collectively. The information is derived from an article published in the media on October 11, 2016, regarding the then Minister of Justice, Mr. Edson Kirindongo. The article stated, "For the first time in St. Martin's history, employees under the Justice Ministry now have full insurance coverage for accidental death and dismemberment. This was made possible by the Minister of Justice, Edson Kirindongo, who collaborated with the three unions, ABVO, WICSU, and NAPB, that represent justice workers to negotiate and secure this coverage for the staff." This brings me directly to MP DeWeaver's next question to you, Madam Chair, which is, was the NAGICO insurance part of the contract when you first started working at the ministry? Through you, Madam Chair, based on the information publicly available at the time, including the reference media article, Madam Chair, I would like to respond to the Honourable MP and inform her that the insurance policy was not a mandatory condition upon employment. Some justice workers did in fact choose to opt out of the coverage, making it voluntary rather than an automatic part of the employment contract. I now move forward to the other question by MP DeWeaver. Was this insurance ever paid out to families, and if so, under what conditions? Madam Chair, the response to that question is yes. The insurance coverage was paid out in at least 5 cases involving justice workers. Madam Chair, to you, one notable example was in 2018 when a colleague passed away while the policy had already lapsed. The government, however, then made a payment to renew the policy, and NAGICO subsequently honored the claim. The funeral costs were covered, and to my knowledge, the family received a lump sum upon the passing of the colleague. This highlights the value of the insurance, even in difficult circumstances. Madam Chair, the following question by MP DeWeaver is, was there a bidding process, and if so, how was NAGICO chosen? Madam Chair, through you, there was a bidding process with approximately 4 insurance companies expressing interest. NAGICO presented the most favorable terms, both in price and coverage, and based on that evaluation, the committee responsible for the negotiations decided to select NAGICO.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
working with family that lives in Aruba, and they know that they can go to the supermarket on certain days, they can get a discount. I know that when I spoke to Mr. Downs from Barbados, you know, and he said that there's free medical care in Barbados for seniors, you know, and I'm wondering, free delivery services as well. Wondering, when are we going to get to that point?
If
where
I-
we can, yes, go right ahead, Mrs. Boseman. Go right ahead, Mrs. Boseman.
We may say that we do not have free medical care, but if I want to jump on the soapbox with St. Martin, we have the best care because we do have free care. It might not seem like it's free care, like you just walk into a clinic and you don't have to show a card.
Right.
But you do have a medical card in your hand and you go to the doctor and you don't have to pull a cent out of your pocket. Right? So in a sense, we have free medical care. Right? The challenge I think that we are confronted with is that some groups might not have the kind of medical care that they need in terms of, so let's say for example, a taxi driver, that's somebody who's working,
Yeah.
right? They might be a senior citizen, but they are
Usually
employed.
Yeah.
And because you're employed, you are supposed to ensure that you have the right medical care for yourself because you
Right.
have an income, right? It would not be fair to the taxpayers to absorb that cost, right? Additionally, you also have, for example, the person who worked just an average job, never had a medical insurance for their old age, but they can apply to government. Now, for us as people, we are very prideful,
Yes, we are very
right?
proud.
We are very
Yes,
prideful,
yes,
so
yes.
we wouldn't come to government unless something terrible happens, and then it becomes an emergency. But there is medical aid, and the medical aid you can apply through social services for medical aid once your income is not above a certain threshold, right? So there are things, and people, we keep saying, oh, but look at their God and look at that one God. But we do have things, and it's not justifying, because we need certain things,
Yes.
right? But I think also community don't grasp what we already have and how we can utilize and maximize what we have.
Because I feel that a lot of seniors or a lot of people don't know what
They-
is available out there.
No,
So
no.
unless it is brought to the forefront, this is what's available, that is what's available, people will feel, you know,
And then too,
We don't
I
have
think
anything.
too, over the years you've seen, and that's a challenge that I think we have as government, keeping the ball in the air when it comes to awareness, right? So tomorrow we might have an open house, not tomorrow, but on the 26th of September. I was going to use it figuratively, but I remember there's an activity coming up. So let me put a plug for that department, the Department of Social Services.
okay, go ahead.
It's usually have open houses,
Okay.
right? And that's the department where you can get all of the aid service from government,
Okay.
right? So they tend to keep open houses and inform community what is going on. But we tend to, as a people, right, not go out to understand what's happening. And I think maybe too, we too need to change our perspective as a people, right? Everything is not going to be handed to you on a platter, right? We too need to take the initiative to understand what is happening. How can I am reaching to the graceful age of retirement. How do I begin to now plan for this? What services are in existence for me when I retire? How do I go about this?
Has the results from that survey, has it helped your department?
Definitely.
Tremendously.
Definitely.
It was
yeah.
definitely used for the
Yeah.
baseline assessment,
Okay.
as my colleague just
Yeah.
mentioned. But as I mentioned before with data, is that for any decision to be taken, you kind of have to have factual or good indication of what is, currently presenting itself. So that census definitely painted a picture from the previous census that occurred in 2011, and it showed a trend. It showed an increase, particularly to our aging population.
Yes.
If we go back many censuses, we can see then how the aging population in particular has grown. And if we weren't collecting that data, we wouldn't, be none the wiser. So it has helped tremendously.
SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, your social and health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, comm programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
My name is Wilm Geurts. I'm the Director of International Affairs of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Employment, and I'm honored to lead the delegation for the Kingdom of the Netherlands during this dialogue on our implementation of the Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. We look forward to a fruitful dialogue and stand ready to answer your questions to the best of our abilities. I would like to start briefly by clarifying the constitutional structure of the Kingdom. The Kingdom of the Netherlands consists of 4 autonomous countries of equal status. Each country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands is autonomous in its implementation of the obligations from the Covenant. So that includes the countries Aruba, Curaçao and Sint Maarten, and the country of the Netherlands, which includes the Caribbean islands of Bonaire, St. Eustatius and Saba as special municipalities, which we together call the Caribbean Netherlands. Today, representatives of Aruba and the Netherlands are present to participate in this constructive dialogue. Unfortunately, representatives of Curaçao and Sint Maarten are unable to join us today. However, they have contributed to the written response to the list of issues which was provided to your committee last year. In respecting the autonomous status of each country, I'm unfortunately not in a position to answer questions relating to Curaçao and Sint Maarten during this dialogue, but we can pass these on to the respective governments if the committee so desires. It is my honor to introduce our delegation. The country of Aruba is represented by Mr. Xavier Similaire. He will speak later on in the opening statement. And I'm representing the country of the Netherlands together with a delegation from across the Dutch government here sitting in the middle of the room. Any questions related specifically to Aruba or the Netherlands will therefore be answered by a representative of that country. I would now like to deliver some introductory remarks on behalf of the Netherlands, following which Mr. Similaire will speak on behalf of Aruba. Our delegation includes experts from the Ministry of Social Affairs and Employment, Interior and Kingdom Relations, Justice and Security, Asylum and Migration, Health, Welfare and Sport, Education, Culture and Science, and Foreign Affairs. Over the next 2 days, you will be hearing from my colleagues directly on their areas of expertise. I would like to take a moment to explain the current political situation in the Netherlands. We currently have a caretaker government pending parliamentary elections that will take place at the end of next month. Under our constitutional convention, the caretaker government only acts on urgent matters, with other decisions being deferred until a new government is in place. We value the way we have implemented economic, social and cultural rights in the Netherlands. At the same time, we are keenly aware that these rights must be constantly protected and strengthened, which requires our continuous attention. This dialogue with your committee helps us to reflect on our policies and to keep ensuring these rights. In preparation for today's sessions, we've had fruitful conversations with our National Human Rights Institute, trade unions and civil society organizations. This constructive dialogue allowed our government to engage deeply with the issues relating to the effective implementation of the Covenant. We highly appreciate the presence of the chair of our National Human Rights Institute, Professor Rick Lawson, and other civil society representatives during this dialogue, and others will be monitoring proceedings online. To us, this serves to further underline the value of the dialogue with your committee. And of course, your committee's concluding observations and recommendations will serve to further inform conversations between the Dutch government, parliament and civil society organizations. Looking at the time, I will highlight some recent developments in relation to social, economic and cultural rights in the Netherlands. I would like to start with a reflection on the impact of COVID-19 on health and employment. Throughout the pandemic, the Dutch government placed the highest priority on the protection of public health. We implemented restrictions on daily life to protect the most vulnerable and worked at pace to ensure vaccines were accessible to all. Faced with unprecedented challenges and restrictions, the Dutch government embarked on a comprehensive effort to support workers and businesses. These measures limited the impact of the pandemic on employment rates and protected livelihoods. Although the employment rate did climb somewhat during 2020, it returned to pre-pandemic levels by the end of 2021 and has remained below 4% since then. Secondly, like many countries, the Netherlands has in recent years faced high levels of inflation which have affected the cost of living. This particularly affects low-wage workers and recipients of benefits. I am pleased to mention that to protect this group of people, the Dutch government has increased the minimum wage. Since July 2020, for full-time employees, the minimum wage has risen by 28% and 42%, depending on the number of hours worked per week. Additionally, the government has taken steps to make childcare more affordable for families with young children. Such policies provide much-needed income security to those who otherwise could struggle to make ends meet. Our investment in tackling poverty is showing results. In recent years, the number of people in the Netherlands struggling with poverty has fallen from over 7% in 2018 to 3% in 2023. But our work is certainly not done, and we have recently launched a national program on poverty reduction to help more people out of poverty. Thirdly, the Netherlands acknowledges that certain groups of migrant workers are underpaid and live in substandard conditions. Therefore, we are taking significant steps to improve their economic and social rights. The government commissioned an independent review of their situation and is working to implement the recommendations. One key recommendation was the establishment of an admission system for temporary employment agencies to ensure these agencies comply with Dutch law. When this legislation enters into force in 2028, it will be enforced by the Netherlands Labour Authority. Furthermore, a new bill aims to provide greater control over how much, where and for whom housing is being built. With the enactment of this law, municipalities will develop a public housing program which must also specifically address the housing needs of targeted groups such as migrant workers. In addition, the government is preparing a bill to ensure better rent protection for migrant workers. And we have opened physical and mobile information points throughout the country for them. Fourthly, and my last point, I would like to highlight the ambition of our social security reform agenda. The Netherlands has a comprehensive and general social security system. At the same time, it has grown increasingly complex over the past years, and this has led to negative impacts for citizens. Over the last decade, a childcare benefits scandal was uncovered. Parents or caregivers had their childcare benefits unjustly cancelled. Rules were applied in an excessively strict manner, and benefit recovery policies, including systems, later found to contain elements of institutional racism. In 2022, the government launched a major operation to provide victims with fair compensation and assistance. As well as addressing past wrongs, the government has launched a reform agenda to ensure that benefits provide income security, the system is easier to understand, and more work should lead to more pay.